Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, our dear Pharma network. We are having another beautiful episode of Pharma Talks podcast, and today we have a new guest in our studio. Guess who we have invited? We have listened to your feedback and we have invited a person who is responsible for the entire strategy in Viseven to talk strategically about content strategy and how we create the content. So please welcome Prasant Vijayakumar in our studio, and I would be pleased, Prashant, if you introduce yourself to our audience once again. You already were in some episode couple of months ago, but I think there is a should refresh should be needed. Welcome, Prashant.
Thank you, Natalia. Yeah, I guess it was last year when we had a podcast, and I think it was a quite a different topic that we were discussing on. But just for new audiences, I would like to introduce a brief introduction about myself. So I've been in the industry, in the pharma industry, for nearly 20 years. So I've been through the journey of being a pharmacist, being a medical rep, and as well as spent a lot of time, many years in content creation with creative agencies. And then finally, in the last few years, it's been about all the talk about digital transformation. Whether especially around content and campaign, and specifically on a lot of experience with modular content. And because this has been something that has been it's been part of my personal journey, with as part of the being a content strategist and trying to see where we can bring more standardization in how we develop content, bring efficiencies, etc. So it'll be a fun topic to talk about today, and I'm sure there will be some new insights that might come out of this discussion.
Yeah, hopefully. Prashant, we are these days experiencing like a new, like eyes-opening moments when we're talking about content strategy. We are always working on making it up to date and bringing innovation, being, I don't know, being strategic ourselves that we are planning the implementation of either the DCF or implementation the new approach, but what exactly the role of content strategy in our successful implementation of any new content production setup? So, what is the role? Because we are always discussing, explaining, delivering the statement about content strategy. But what you will share with us? What is your thinking about? What is the role exactly?
I, I guess this role has been it's been there. It's been always there with especially content. As brand teams work with the launch of new brands, it's a considered effort on in terms of what content they need as part of the launch of the brand and how they communicate to their to healthcare professionals and patients, etc. I think it has come to focus more recently in the last, I would say, 10 years or 5 years, maybe, especially with when we talk about digital transformation, because it's become quite important to understand, as strategists, we need to, one of the things that digital transformation is driving is about bringing efficiency in the process, and content has always been, and especially in pharma, content has always been quite a big topic because of all the regulatory requirements and adherence to the regulations before it can get out of the marketeer in front of the healthcare professionals. So a considered strategy for how you build your content will help achieve more efficiency, bring more standardization. We talk about bringing content faster and quicker in front of the customers or the healthcare professional, be it, or even patients. So I think one of the biggest advantage is of content strategy is to standardize how you do things, how you process your content. Because in pharma, to be honest, I always keep saying it's not that we are producing a lot of content every day. A lot of that things that we can claim in our content in pharma is already done through all the clinical trials, the proven clinical trials, whether it's we are talking about efficacy, safety, dosing, whatever that is. So it's only what we are limited by the what we can say, what we can communicate to HCPs. So I believe the strategy should be simple, but it's never that simple, isn't it?
It is not. And you brought a very interesting point because through the like last 10 years, exactly when we were focused more on commercial content. You remember when we are developing a commercial content, our focus was more on how we visualize what exactly creative stuff we are using, and little by little, do you think like this focus is shifting to the medical material? So I think we are having a moment here within the content strategy of the great shift from commercial focus, purely commercial focus, as we were as close as any other commercial brands to visualizing of the efficacy, mechanism of action, and everything else, to the a purely medical information, relevant information. Do you see the same thing? So
Yeah, I think yeah, you mentioned an interesting thing, because when one of the things, and when we talk about modular content, modular content as being part of content strategy, um, we always look at it. You're right. We always been very focused on only on the commercial side of the business. But to be honest, content has started its journey way before it gets to the commercial side of the business. It starts where, when I mean, the moment a publication is released, you have content available for you to use, and that comes from, whether even in the medical affairs team, we need to look at, okay, what is it we are communicating, working with key opinion leaders. And of course, we are looking at content for symposiums and congress events way before the product is even launched. And the thing is, we can use those same pieces of content and the messages that we want to communicate through that content much later in the commercial side of the business, when the product is about to launch, or even post launch as well. So I think when we talk about content strategy, we need to think way before even commercialization of the product itself. What is it we already have that has already been approved, that we can continue to use later on.
yeah, that's an interesting way to think about the strategy and the life cycle of the content production. And that's a very interesting point in that. So because like many of our customers and even the colleagues who are other agencies, they are either retiring the term of modular content, or they think, well, with AI this much must be much better, faster, and must be more efficient. But what do you actually think about this modular content? What would be the new role of this? Because I do not see how we can retire the approach and still be successful in omni-channel communication.
Yeah,
So
I don't think there is a word, you can use the word retirement to modular content, because we haven't even started using it in the right way, first of all. I think it's a modular content has been a misunderstood topic within pharma. I think a lot many people have tried to kind of define what modular content is. So it's kind of somewhere it got a bit muddled.
muddled,
Too many definitions.
too many.
I think that's what has been affecting our industry, that we are not able to fully embrace the modular content as part of your content strategy, because this is where the problem is. We've been thinking modular content for a long time to be something that your technology will solve, but in fact, it's not a technology, it's a strategy. Going modular, it's part of your strategic decision to go modular. It's one of those functionality that you want to bring into the organization, to bring efficiency into the process. So I always argue that modular content is the way to standardize your process. So one of the things is, don't go 100% modular. Start with what you can standardize today. The idea was always that there are pieces of content or key messages that you want to communicate again and again in different channels, different formats, etc. And that's the reason where that's one of the biggest benefits of modular. So standardize those elements first. Of course, every day there are new ways, new content that you can create, but leave that to your creative agencies. Let them focus on the new, whereas what you already have, you try and reuse it. You standardize the process. That's why we always insist that don't go modular 100%. There is It's a way to bring things together, standardize it, make it faster, and put it in front of the customer, or healthcare professional, patients, etc. And you have consistent messaging as part of your omni-channel, strategy as well. So at one time you're producing new content. On the other hand, you are standardizing content and continuing to communicate, whereas the new content will take time for it to get approved and in front of the customer, whereas you have modular content that you can reuse and again and again. And I think that shift needs to take place in the industry, that going modular doesn't mean making everything modular. That's again waste of a lot of energies and efficiency, I guess.
That could be one of the mistakes, because once our customers are going modular, so the first and the biggest effort is to make sure that every old and maybe even outdated content is modularized, so recomposed to the pieces and parts, and being able to assembled into the so-called module. So is this the wrong intention what you are saying? So you need to focus on the standardized practices and to build modules out of that, not to focus on the outdated material. So to make sure you are using the things which can be reused in the future. Is this what you are stating for the modular?
Yeah, I think, like I said, we are limited by content, I would say, or the messages that we can communicate in pharma, or in life sciences in general, because of the regulations. And there's only so many studies that are taking place on a particular product, I would say. And therefore, I would say that it is a lot more easier to modularize in our circumstances, in the sense that you can standardize what you communicate about your efficacy messages or safety messages. And you have a library of modules that you can reuse in different formats in different channels. And the and I think and I think one of the things is, like I said, the focus for creative agencies, etc., should be on developing new content rather than creating a new e-detailer with the same old messages in a completely different design. I think it's a waste of time and effort.
Yeah, and resource.
So
So that's very true. So that means if anyone is in the beginning of the journey of assembling the content production process, shall they think about how they will assemble kind of modular content digital factory? So to make sure that you have this as a standardized process to create those modules, and these modules will build a base for the creative thinking, for the localization purposes, and for all the other agencies, players to be creative and to achieve commercial results. Is this the vision for modular content strategy?
yeah, I think, see, one of the things is, before even getting to modular content strategy, is we need to strategically align across the organization. So let's say you're trying to create a center of excellence for your content operations. So there should be a strategic alignment into why you're doing that as an organization. So it could be to drive, um, um, you know, better efficiency, minimize the sort of the transactional activities, because there is so much back and forth and wasted effort, and that leads to operational efficiency. And eventually the idea is that you have as a, your commercial, the product that you're commercializing, you want to have consistent and um, uh, consistent messaging being communicated to the HCP throughout the life cycle of the product. So for that, it comes in from the content strategy. If and modular content is what will enable you to bring that sort of a consistent messaging, driving that consistency in messaging, and it allows you to also kind of I guess um, and it helps you learn new things. What if over time you're seeing that the content is not being engaged with by the HCPs? What do you need to change that will allow you to uh, change how you do things with modular content?
It is very important, and that's like very very interesting thinking, because then it means like anyone can start the modular journey from scratch, right? So this is what you're saying. But whatever stage you are in creation, your content hub, content studio, where you are setting up a totally new operations, you can start with the modular from scratch. Is it right?
If your processes are right, in terms of you have created, you understand your target segments, so you have different segmentation, and you understand what their drivers and barriers are, what you need to communicate to those segments of customers, and based on what you want to communicate, the key messages that you want to communicate, you know what content you have available to you. And once you know that, then all you have to do is to think about what modules you need to communicate those messages. And then it's a matter of how do you reach those customers, what channels that you need. And then you start thinking about, okay, for those channels, what is the format for those channels? And you develop templates which are standardized, that can be used across all markets. And then when the markets start using those templates for those channels, all they have to do is plug and play with the modules. And we have technology that allows us to quickly translate things. You don't have to leave the system. We have created a nice ecosystem where people can collaborate between, whether it's global to local or between different functions, whether it's a creative agency or the studios, and to bring together the content within the same platform, and then publish it to the specific channels.
That's exactly, I think, what our audience need to hear. So that this is not the process which exactly bounded to your old style of the content production. This is not the, I would say, money burner. This is not. This is something like, this is a transformation for sure. This is a change and the transformation. But this transformation and change is leading us to the brighter future. So we will be able to embrace not only the much more efficient way of how we create the nice and relevant communication with our patients and doctors, but also we will be able to build the omni-channel, the concretely omni-channel strategy, which is serving our needs, and our communication will be delivered to the right persona in the right time. That's exactly what we need to show, that modular content is a key to this strategy, and we cannot talk about retiring on this term. I have the last but not unpopular question about AI, so we cannot leave it aside. So, is AI changing like drastically content strategy? What do you think?
I don't think the strategy will change. AI is just an enabler, right? And I think it's a good point, because when I talk to a lot of our clients, we talk when and especially around modular content. I mean, in order to build a system that AI can use and learn from, I think the modules are the best way to go about it. You see, you need data to train the AI model, and modules are easily, nicely defined pieces of content with the, a singular key messages perhaps. And based on, I think what you need to do is first start using modules, which will generate a lot of data, and that will allow us to train the model for the AI, and eventually our own, where we are going in the future, as V7, is to go complete automation of content creation. So in the future, you don't even have to bother about modules. To be honest, you have your content strategy, you create content, and then AI will auto assemble your, content assets in the channel format that you need. And this is going to be pretty, available pretty soon. And in the next couple of years, I'm sure this is something that we will have in our products itself. So, but for that, to get to that point, we need to have the right strategy in place, especially modular
Exactly.
content, I
Yeah.
think.
I think there is just a moment of thinking and to our conversation. Indeed, like our brains changed the way how we are working. So we operate with really small chunks of data and small chunks of content visualized, explained, and not really lengthy. Our brain is able now to react very fast on immediate, almost immediate, on the change and the stress on things, and we as human. I want to say that we are becoming more efficient in many aspects of our lives, and communication, the content is one of those aspects. So, but we can see like that the modular data and AI, this dynamic trio, is the enabler of the future communication pattern we were going to use. And today we are at what preparation stage. So, what is your advice to all of us in the end of our conversation? How we need to jump or to embrace the whole story? So, what is your advice? How to do that?
I I think the main thing is to first, um, I mean, having a considered content strategy is important, and also not trying to build Rome in a day. That's the thing. It's like do do little by little. It's always, you create prototype, test it, and once you test it, you know what's working, then move to the next stage. And that's important with even modular content. And when you don't go 100% modular, you know start with what you can standardize today. Whereas, so one hand, you're creating standardized elements or modules that you can repurpose, reuse again and again. On the other hand, you need to also have the creative element, right? There is always creativity involved, which will bring in freshness into your content, how you want to communicate to your customers, and keep things engaged at the end. So yeah, I guess my advice is to think about what you want to do, why you want to do it, and go start small, and then think about how you want to scale it.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prashant. So I think this was a very interesting and insightful conversation, and a couple of myths were broken during our talk, such as modular content is very, very important. It is truly connected with data and AI. We cannot live without content strategy, and we really will improve and little by little go into the journey. So thank you very much, and hope you will be able to meet with you in the next episodes of this podcast. And here, thank you for the audience to be with us, and be careful. More and more topics are arriving. If you have questions to myself or Prashant, feel free to contact us on LinkedIn or from company website, and we will be answering your questions immediately, or not immediately, with some time. But thank you. See you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Natalia. Bye.